Medicine has made great advances. It's possible today to treat many major diseases. But what about cures for those diseases? Our next guest has an interesting idea for helping to find cures. Jim Butler is Speaker Pro Tem of the Ohio State House of Representatives. He's visiting North Carolina to help promote his plan. Representative Butler, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
So you're here to talk about something called the Cure Bill. What's that all about?
So the Cure Bill, which is now a law in Ohio, is a multistate compact that does exactly what you said in your introduction. It incentivizes the private sector to develop cures for diseases instead of just treatments. So right now, the way the system works, all the government money, which is $38 billion a year out of a little over $100 billion a year in total research and development, and all the money from charities, that goes into basic science research. That never is going to cure anything. It can help cure something by doing the basic research, but it never gets beyond animal studies. In order for anything to actually result in a cure that's approved by the FDA, the private sector comes and looks at all the basic science research generally and then picks out whatever's going to make them the most profit because they're businesses. But usually, almost always, that is a treatment that you have to take for a long period of time, even the rest of your life, and it's not something you're going to take once or a short period of time and that you're never going to need again. For obvious reasons, that's not what they invest in, because the return on investment isn't going to be there. So this bill, now law, multi-state compact, where other states need to pass it also for it to go into effect, we need 6 states, would provide that incentive for the private sector, not by spending a bunch of money. And I'm not for doing that. All it is a pledge that whatever the states in the compact save for the first 5 years after a cure is found and widely available and everyone's cured, the inventor can get that money as a prize. And it would be so much money. I mean, healthcare is so expensive, as everybody knows, especially chronic diseases, that if you were to cure something like multiple sclerosis, or breast cancer or diabetes or Alzheimer's, it's tens of billions of dollars. Even if only several states were to join the compact, that's how much the savings would be just over that 5-year period of time.
So this is law in Ohio now, and you need other states. So I imagine that's a main reason to be in North Carolina, to see if we're interested.
That is correct. That's what I've been doing that for the past couple weeks, various conferences, visiting other states. But I'm going to try to get as many states as possible, because the more states that join the compact, the greater the savings, the 5-year savings would be, and therefore the greater the prize, the higher the prize would be, and the more the private sector would do trial and error. I mean, that's the whole point. That's how things get invented. And we want to have the incentive sufficiently high so that the private sector, and including stock market, hedge funds, pharmaceutical companies, biotechs, everybody all around the world, they'll look at that basic science. They'll look at those cures in mice or rats that we see all the time for all these diseases and say, I'm going to take a risk on that, even if it's only a 1% chance that this might actually result in a cure. Then it's worth my investment. It's worth my $5 million, which is the average price of a clinical trial, to go ahead and try it, because right now that's not there. And if it's there, and it's there all over the place for all these diseases, and the private sector funds hundreds or thousands of human clinical trials on the things that will potentially result in a cure that currently aren't being done now, in no time at all, many of the horrible diseases that are faced by all of us could be cured for real. I mean, we hear always elected officials saying, hey, we need to cure this or cure that. Well, what they do is they just appropriate more money, and it goes into that basic science research, which is why we haven't had a cure for anything since polio. That's over 50 or 60 years ago now. So that's the general concept, and I'm hopeful that this will spread across the country.
Representative Jim Butler is Speaker Pro Tem of the State House of Representatives in Ohio. On paper, it sounds pretty good. If you've talked to people in healthcare or to entrepreneurs, what's been their response?
Overwhelmingly positive. So when you talk about starting with elected officials, the first thing we have to do is make sure that we're not spending taxpayer dollars on anything that potentially might work. And if we're doing that, then we have to weigh the advantages and disadvantages of spending that money. In this case, there is no spending of money. The taxpayers are completely protected because unless there's a cure, then there's no payment. And unless the states actually save money once the cure is widely available, there's no payment. So if something unexpectedly comes up and the cure isn't working right, or it's not resulting in the savings that were projected, the taxpayers still only pay the difference between what they were paying to care for something like multiple sclerosis, and then now that there's been a cure, what they're paying. And they do that for that 5-year period by looking back every year for actual numbers. So there's no way in doing this that anyone can lose. We can only gain by doing this.
Any pushback at all that, hey, we would love to see the cure, but then we're going to be taking a hit in our budget for a few years as we deal with this? Has anyone raised that at all?
Well, no, because that's not the case. Because you don't take a hit in your budget. It's impossible to take a hit in your budget because you're still going to only be spending what you would have been spending anyway for that first 5 years. So it's never a hit. And then after that 5 years is up, then you're saving the money. So you can only save, you can't spend more. And there's another part of this. So if somebody wants to claim the prize, then they give up the patent in exchange for the prize. The compact makes sure that they contract with a company to make sure for manufacturing, distribution, licensure, and liability that everyone gets the cure so that it's widely available, everyone gets it. Because that's been a problem with some of these expensive treatments out there. So the compacting states get the cure at the cost, whatever the cost is. So it'd be pennies compared to what we currently pay for many different expensive treatments. Everybody else all over the world, states that aren't part of the compact, the federal government, who can join the compact if they want, which is a difference in some of the other multi-state compacts, and other countries, they also only pay the cost for the cure, but they also pay a royalty that's equal to their 5-year savings. It's only fair, right? So they have to pay their 5-year savings, but their 5-year savings is not part of the prize. The prize is only the compacting states, the states that have joined the compact, their 5-year savings. So it's extra money. That royalty money is extra money. That goes to pay for the expenses of the compact, but also most of it will go back to the states that joined the compact as a rebate. So instead of having to wait 5 years to save money for these states, then they could see savings immediately or after only 1 or 2 years. So it pays to be in the compact, most of all because it could save millions of lives. If even just one disease was cured, and 85% of all expenses for Medicaid, 75% for overall healthcare costs are chronic diseases. Imagine, just curing one major disease. The impact that would have. And for me personally, both my parents passed away of cancer in their 50s, which is how 20 years ago I found out about the problem, because there wasn't anything once their cancer spread that might cure them. And I know many of your listeners out there face the same thing. That's where this started. So for me, the chance at no cost, at no risk to the taxpayers of making a difference and curing these diseases, and saving so many millions and millions of lives and untold pain and suffering is well worth this.